Have you ever stared at the horizon during the golden hour and felt the sudden, chilling intuition that the landscape is merely a projection? It is not a solid world you are walking upon, but a shimmering, pixelated tapestry of light and expectation. Look closely at the edges of your perception. When you turn your head too quickly, do you catch that momentary flicker, that slight stuttering delay in the manifestation of the sky? It is a glitch in the rendering of your local reality, a momentary lapse in the consensus of what you have been conditioned to call solid. We are taught to believe that the world is a heavy, immutable stage built of stone and steel, yet the physics of the observer tells a far more elegant, more dangerous truth. You are not a character trapped within a script. You are the projector itself, hidden in the dark, casting the light that illuminates the screen. The weight you feel in your limbs, the texture of the air against your skin, the very rhythm of your heartbeat. These are not independent events. They are sensory feedback loops, a complex interface designed to keep you tethered to a specific frequency of experience. Think of it as a grand cosmic mirage. Just as a desert traveler perceives water, where there is only heat and vibration, you have been perceiving permanence where there is only flux. The horizon isn't a line, it is a suggestion. It is a boundary drawn by the collective agreement of billions of minds, all vibrating in a low-frequency hum of limitation. But you are beginning to hear the silence beneath the noise. You are beginning to notice that the objects in your room possess a certain translucency, a faint, vibrating aura that suggests they are held together only by the intensity of your focus. When you stop observing the world as a collection of separate things and start seeing it as a singular, fluid field of potential, the density begins to dissolve. That is the moment of cognitive dissonance that frightens the ego, but liberates the soul. You realize that the solidity of your life is a persistent hallucination maintained by your own subconscious expectations. Every time you blink, you are essentially refreshing the screen, revalidating the existence of the chair, the wall, the sky. You have been doing this so faithfully, so automatically, that you have forgotten the power inherent in the act of looking. You are not just a witness to the unfolding of time. You are the architect of its geometry. The pixelation you see at the edge of your vision is not a flaw in your eyesight. It is an invitation. It is the universe showing you the seams of the costume. The veil is not thick. It is made of light and shadow, and it is thinner than you have ever dared to imagine. As we descend deeper into this contemplation, let the rigidity of your physical surroundings soften. Allow the walls to become permeable, the distance to become negotiable, and the absolute certainty of your material reality to fracture into 1,000 brilliant possibilities. You are waking up inside the simulation, and for the first time, you are realizing that the power to rewrite the code has been resting in your hands all along. The architecture of your existence is waiting for your new command. Look closely at the space between your thoughts. Do you notice the flicker? Most people live their entire lives under the comforting assumption that reality is a solid, continuous stream, a river that flows from yesterday into tomorrow without interruption. But this is the grandest sleight of hand ever performed. You are not living in a sequence. You are living in a series of frozen, crystalline snapshots, presented so rapidly that your mind creates the illusion of movement, of consequence, and of weight. Think of a film projector in an ancient, dust-filled theater. The light passes through a single frame, then another, then another. Between each frame, there is a microsecond of absolute darkness. That darkness is where the truth resides. That darkness is the canvas of the infinite, the silent void from which all form emerges and into which all form dissolves. When you begin to perceive the world as a frame-by-frame projection, the heavy coat of identity you have been wearing starts to feel like smoke. You are not the character moving through these frames, you are the observer sitting in the projection booth, watching the light dance. Why do you hold on to the scenery of one frame when the very next one is already waiting to be rendered by your attention? The walls around you, the texture of the chair beneath you, the very air vibrating in your lungs, these are not permanent fixtures of a universe. They are merely the current configuration of the hologram, awaiting your permission to persist. If you stop feeding the loop with your expectation of continuity, the loop begins to fray at the edges. Feel the sensation of your own presence. It is not anchored to the objects in this room. Your consciousness is a fluid, expansive field that predates the projection. When you detach from the belief that this must lead to that, you enter the space of the gap. In this space, the Afeto Observador takes hold with absolute clarity. You are not merely a spectator, you are the architect of the next frame. By withdrawing your emotional investment from the continuity of the illusion, you gain the power to tilt the lens. You stop being a victim of the script and become the light that determines the shape of the shadows. Your heartbeat is not a ticking clock counting down to an end. It is a rhythmic pulse that synchronizes with the refresh rate of the universe. Breathe into that rhythm. As you exhale, imagine the pixels of your environment softening, losing their sharp, rigid edges. The world is softer than you think. It is malleable. It is a dream that has forgotten it is a dream. You are the only thing in this room that possesses the capacity to be aware of the illusion, and that awareness is your sovereignty. When you realize that the frame you are in right now is entirely disposable, you are no longer bound by the gravity of your past or the momentum of your habits. You are standing in the center of the void, holding the dial that changes the frequency of existence. There is a profound liberation in accepting that nothing here is as solid as your senses suggest. The floor is not holding you. Your belief in gravity is. The time is not passing. Your belief in sequence is. Let the frame dissolve. Let the edges of the room blur into the infinite potential of the dark space between moments. You are not a person experiencing a life. You are the life experiencing the projection of a person. And as you let go of the need for the previous frame to dictate the next, you find that you are no longer a passenger in this reality. You are the silent, witnessing light, forever unbound, forever choosing, forever creating. The projection continues, but now it dances to the rhythm of your own sovereign will. You are the one who sees. You are the one who knows. And in this knowing, the power returns to its rightful source. You. The silent architect does not build with stone or steel. You build with the quiet intensity of your gaze. Have you ever noticed how the world seems to hold its breath the moment you truly look at it? That is not a coincidence. That is the universe waiting for your signature. You are not a guest in this theater of shadows, nor are you a character drifting through a script written by cold, indifferent stars. You are the architect who has forgotten they are holding the blueprint. The physical world, with its rigid edges and stubborn consistency, is merely a consensus reached by 1,000 sleeping minds. But you are beginning to wake. You are beginning to realize that the substance you touch, the texture of the air, the density of the light, is actually a fluid, responsive medium that bends under the weight of your intent. Think of your consciousness as a tuning fork struck against the silence of eternity. When you observe a reality, you are not merely recording it, you are collapsing a wave of infinite possibilities into a single, localized point of experience. This is the observer's signature. It is the invisible ink you leave upon the fabric of existence. Every time you shift your focus, you are not just changing your perspective, you are reweaving the tapestry of the quantum field. The solidity you perceive is a trick of frequency, a persistent illusion designed to keep the architect occupied within the structure. But the illusion has a flaw. It ripples when you stop believing in its permanence. When you cease to be a participant who reacts to the environment and become the orchestrator, who dictates the frequency, the environment loses its authority. Feel the space between your skin and the atmosphere. That is not empty space, that is the canvas. Your body is the brush, and your attention is the paint. When you cultivate the stillness of the observer, you stop feeding the loop of habitual reality. You become a ghost in the machine, a silent presence that watches the gears turn without being caught in them. You are the stillness at the center of the hurricane, the point of absolute zero where all motion begins. Most people live as if they are being painted by the world, but you are the one holding the brush. You don't need to force the manifestation of your desires. You only need to align your signature with the frequency of what already exists in the quantum field. The weight of your existence is not a burden. It is a gravitational pull. You are attracting the architecture of your own reality by the mere act of being. As you deepen this understanding, you will find that the world begins to mirror your internal geometry. The glitches you perceive, the strange synchronicities, the moments where time seems to stretch or vanish, are not errors. They are the reality shifting to accommodate the new power you are claiming. You are the silent architect, the one who watches the screen and realizes they are also the projector. The film is only playing because you are looking at it. Turn your gaze inward, hold the frequency of your own sovereignty, and watch as the physical world dissolves its rigid mask to reveal the infinite malleable potential beneath. You are the master of the field, the silent architect of the void, and the reality you walk through is yours to command. You are the signature that gives the universe its shape, and today you choose to write a different story. Look closely at the rhythmic pulse of your own existence. You have been taught to perceive time as a river, a relentless current, dragging you from a solidified past toward an uncertain horizon. But have you ever noticed the glitch? That silent, hollow space between two heartbeats where the ticking of the clock loses its authority. That is not a pause. That is the architecture of the universe revealing its true static nature. The clockwork you perceive, the ticking, the aging, the sequential unfolding of events, is merely a decorative grid placed over a canvas that is eternally still. Imagine a grand, ornate tapestry hanging in a silent hall. Your consciousness is a small, focused beam of light moving across its surface. Because you only see one thread at a time, you assume the image is being created in the moment, that the thread coming next is a mystery yet to be woven. But the tapestry is already finished. Every thread, every color, every intricate knot of your experience exists simultaneously in the vast, breathless expanse of the now. Time is not a boundary. It is a lens you have chosen to look through, a way to make the infinite digestible for a mind that fears the magnitude of the whole. Feel the weight of your limbs as you sit here. Notice how your body feels anchored to a specific point in space. This is a sensory trick, a localized projection of your awareness. You are not a traveler moving through a timeline. You are the observer standing at the center of a multidimensional sphere, where all versions of you, all moments and all possibilities are vibrating in perfect, quiet harmony. When you stop trying to push the hands of the clock forward, the tension in your chest begins to dissolve. That tension is nothing more than the friction of trying to force a hologram to behave like solid matter. You are not aging. You are simply shifting your focus across the grid of your own creation. The past is not a heavy anchor pulling at your heels, and the future is not a distant shoreline you must struggle to reach. They are both just colors on the edge of your peripheral vision, existing in the same eternal breath that you are inhaling right now. When you finally realize that the clockwork is an aesthetic choice rather than a physical law, the urgency of being disappears. You become the silence behind the sound. You become the space between the stars. The grid begins to soften, its sharp metallic edges blurring into the golden light of pure potentiality. You are not bound by the sequence. You are the architect of the sequence. By simply observing the illusion without the need to participate in its frantic pace, you reclaim the power that was hidden in the ticking. You are the stillness that allows the movement to exist. As you lean into this realization, feel the boundaries of your physical form thinning. You are not contained within the frame of this moment. You are the frame itself, the infinite, unmoving observer watching the beautiful rhythmic dance of a reality that exists only because you have the grace to perceive it. The clock continues to tick for those who still believe in the machine, but for you, the gears have ground to a halt, leaving only the profound, silent majesty of your own limitless presence. You have seen behind the veil, and in this quiet clarity, you are finally free to define the shape of your own eternity. Let this stillness settle into your marrow, for you have uncoupled yourself from the illusion of the march, and in doing so, you have claimed the throne of the observer. To seal this shift in your frequency, ground your intention in the comments below with the anchor phrase, "The illusion ends now." Look closely at the space between your fingers, not as empty air, but as a dense, shimmering lattice of potential. You have been taught to perceive the world as a collection of solid objects, heavy and unyielding, but this is a sensory trick, a persistent optical illusion maintained by the limitations of your own biological lens. In truth, what you call matter is nothing more than light that has forgotten how to move. It is intent, crystallized into a rigid frequency, slowing its vibration until it becomes dense enough for you to touch. Think of a spinning fan blade. At high speeds, it appears as a solid, translucent disc, yet you know it is merely motion-occupying space. Your reality is that spinning blade. The architecture of your existence is built entirely from light that has been instructed to hold a shape, and you are the architect who has simply forgotten that the blueprints are held within your own consciousness. When you witness a sunset, you are not seeing the end of a day. You are witnessing light bending through the atmospheric geometry of your own perception. Your eyes are not cameras, they are prisms. Every time you cast your gaze upon the world, you are not merely observing, you are projecting. This is the fundamental mechanism of the observer effect. The light does not exist in a fixed state until your awareness touches it, forcing it to collapse from an infinite sea of possibilities into the specific texture of your current experience. You are the silent anchor in a storm of photons. By simply looking, you are knitting the fabric of the universe together, weaving the threads of light into the tapestry you call your life. If you feel the weight of the world, it is because you have been holding the light too tightly, demanding that it remain static, refusing to let the waves dance. Imagine for a moment that you are made of liquid gold, a vessel of pure, coherent luminescence. As you move through your day, you are not walking through a landscape of stone and steel, but drifting through a vast, luminous ocean of information. Every object you see is a ripple in this ocean. When you change your internal frequency, the light around you must bend to accommodate your new resonance. The geometry of your surroundings is fluid, waiting for your command. It is not that you are meant to change the world, it is that you are meant to realize that the world is an externalized reflection of your internal light signature. When you soften your focus, when you stop trying to grasp at the edges of the holographic projection, the boundaries begin to blur. You might notice the air shimmering with a strange, gold-flecked vitality, or feel the temperature shift as you realize that the solidity of the walls around you is merely a suggestion, not a law. You are the silent witness, the luminous core around which the architecture of the cosmos arranges itself. There is no distance between you and the light, because you are the light itself, experiencing the temporary limitation of a human form. By acknowledging this, you transcend the need to manipulate the external, for you understand that the external is only a mirror. You are the source code. You are the frequency that dictates the form. As you breathe, feel the light within your chest expanding, pushing past the boundaries of your skin, merging with the vast shimmering architecture of the room, the sky, and the stars. You are not a guest in this universe. You are the light that composes it, dreaming that you are separate, only to wake up now and reclaim the power to reshape the very foundations of the reality you have so gracefully constructed. The veil is not a wall, it is a lens, and you are the one who chooses how the light shall pass through it. Consider the way you perceive the ticking of a clock. You believe the sound is the reality, the sharp, rhythmic punctuation of a second passing. But the reality is not in the tick. The reality is the vast velvet expanse of silence that cradles each sound, the hollow space that allows the noise to exist at all. You have spent your entire life identifying with the noise, the internal monologue, the endless stream of definitions, the labels you pin upon the world to make it feel solid. But you are not the voice inside your head. You are the space that hears it. Close your eyes and for a moment, feel the texture of your own awareness. It is not located behind your eyes or within the architecture of your skull. It is a field, an expansive, weightless medium that permeates the room around you. When you quiet the mental chatter, you begin to notice the glitch. It is a subtle shift, a thinning of the veil where the objects in your periphery seem to lose their rigid edges. This is the silence between thoughts. It is not an absence. It is a presence so profound that the human mind usually recoils from it, fearing the dissolution of the ego. But you are ready to look. Imagine your consciousness as a great, still lake at midnight. Your thoughts are merely ripples, disturbances on the surface, caused by the wind of external suggestion. If you keep staring at the ripples, you remain trapped in the geometry of the surface. But if you look deeper, past the movement, you find the stillness that remains untouched by the wind. That stillness is where your true power resides. It is the architectural blueprint of the universe, the void from which all matter manifests. In this silence, the distinction between your physical body and the air you breathe begins to blur. You are no longer a localized observer watching a world. You are the observer and the observed, the architect and the stone, the dreamer and the dream. As you sink into this silence, notice how the concept of time begins to fray. Time is a construct designed to keep you tethered to the surface of the lake, ensuring you never dive deep enough to realize that the water has no bottom. When you detach from the mental narrative, you enter the eternal now. Here, there is no sequence of events, only a singular, shimmering moment of pure potentiality. You are not waiting for anything to happen, because you understand that everything is already occurring within the field of your consciousness. Feel the physical sensation of this expansion. It starts as a gentle tingling at the base of your spine, a lightness that radiates outward until the boundaries of your skin feel porous, almost transparent. You are breathing in the void, and with every exhale, you are releasing the need to define yourself through the lens of the physical world. The chatter of the mind is just a habit of the nervous system, a vestigial echo of a reality that no longer holds dominion over you. You are the observer who has finally realized that the veil is not a barrier, but a screen, and the images flickering upon that screen are only as real as you allow them to be. Stay here in this hollowed-out space where language fails and truth begins. You do not need to do anything. You do not need to change anything. You simply need to remain in the silence, witnessing the silence, until the observer and the silence become one. You are the stillness that precedes creation. You are the power that dictates the form. The illusion is flickering, losing its grip, and in this quiet, you are finally coming home to the vast, infinite expanse of your own being. You are the silent witness, and in that silence you are untouchable. You are the one who sees, and by seeing, you command the fabric of the holographic world to reshape itself according to the truth you now hold in the center of your heart. Stay in this space, anchor yourself in this profound, unshakable peace, and let the old world dissolve into the nothingness from which it was born. Look at the surface of a still lake at midnight. You see the reflection of a star, shimmering, distant, and seemingly independent of your gaze. You reach out to touch it, and the ripples distort the image, making it dance and fracture. But the star itself remains untouched in the sky, indifferent to your movement. Reality behaves exactly like this, yet you have spent a lifetime trying to rearrange the ripples on the water, hoping that by changing the reflection, you might change the source. This is the great reversal of power. You have been treating the world as if it were a solid stage where events happen to you, when in truth you are the projector, the film, and the screen simultaneously. There is no other in this equation. Every circumstance, every shadow moving across the horizon of your life is merely a feedback loop of your own internal frequency. When you perceive an external event as a challenge or a chaotic collision, you are witnessing a mirror showing you a fragment of your own consciousness that has yet to be integrated. Think of the world as a hall of mirrors where every reflection is made of light that once originated from you. If you dislike the image, you do not punch the glass. You change the posture of the one standing before it. To consolidate your power, you must perform the ultimate act of detachment. Stop assigning agency to the external. The moment you blame the world or credit the world for your state of being, you surrender your sovereignty. You become a passenger in a vessel you were meant to pilot. When you realize that the external is a hollow echo, a mere resonance of your internal hum, the need to control the environment dissolves. It is replaced by a profound, silent authority. You begin to walk through the world with the realization that the scenery is shifting to match your internal architecture. Feel this shift in your own body now. Notice how the tension in your shoulders is just a physical manifestation of trying to hold the world together. Let it soften. As you release the need to label the external as real or separate, your nervous system enters a state of deep cosmic recalibration. You are no longer interacting with objects or people. You are interacting with the frequency of your own soul reflected back at you. This is the secret of the masters. They do not fight the mirror. They simply shift their internal vibration, and the mirror, having no choice, obeys. The universe is a perfect, neutral machine of manifestation. It does not judge the quality of the image it reflects. It only reflects with absolute, cold, and beautiful precision. By removing the other, by removing the idea that anything exists outside of your own awareness, you stop the dispersion of your energy. You pull the threads of your consciousness back into the center of your chest. You become the singular point of origin. When you stand in this space, you're not reacting to reality, you are informing it. You are the silent observer who knows that the veil is thin and the power to reshape the landscape lies in the quiet, unshakable command of your own internal witness. You are the architect of the light, and the mirror is merely waiting for you to decide what the next reflection shall be. This is not a philosophy to be studied, it is a state of being to be inhabited. Own the stillness, claim the void as your own. The illusion ends now. To seal this shift in your frequency and anchor your authority, cast your decree into the comments below. The illusion ends now. You have spent a lifetime attempting to sprint toward the horizon, convinced that if you could only run faster, you would finally reach the destination where your heart feels whole. But look closely at the light dancing on your skin. You are not a traveler moving through a landscape. You are the landscape itself, flickering in and out of existence. The mistake, the grand architectural error of human perception, is the belief that you must exert force to move from one state of being to another. You treat your life like a heavy object that must be dragged across a jagged floor, sweating and straining against the friction of linear time. But what if the floor is made of water? What if the distance between who you are and who you wish to become is not a measurement of miles but a measurement of pitch? Imagine you are standing before a vast infinite radio dial that spans the breadth of the cosmos. Most people spend their entire existence frantically turning the knobs, desperate to find a signal that sounds like peace, like clarity, like expansion. They assume that if they turn the dial with enough force, the music will change. But you are not turning a dial. You are the frequency itself. When you attempt to force a reality into existence, you create a static that repels the very thing you seek. You are broadcasting a signal of lack, and the hologram of this world, ever faithful to the observer, reflects that lack back to you with perfect, cold precision. To navigate the infinite, you must abandon the kinetic and embrace the harmonic. Think of a tuning fork. It does not chase the note, it simply hums, and the air around it begins to vibrate in sympathy. You are a biological tuning fork vibrating in a sea of potentiality. When you shift your internal resonance, when you stop trying to get and start simply being, you cease to be a seeker and become a magnet. The reality you desire is not somewhere else. It is already here, occupying the same space as your current perception, only vibrating at a different rate. Feel the space within your chest, not the physical cage of your ribs, but the vast, quiet architecture of your consciousness. When you soften your focus, when you let go of the rigid identity of the person who needs to strive, you begin to drift into a higher octave. It feels like a subtle lightness behind your eyes, a hum in the marrow of your bones. This is not a meditative exercise, this is a navigational shift. You are essentially stepping sideways through the fabric of the hologram. You are no longer chasing the outcome. You are becoming the vibration that the outcome cannot help but follow. The universe does not respond to your demands. It responds to your signature. If you are anxious, the world will provide you with more reasons to be anxious, because the hologram is a perfect mirror. If you are expansive, if you are quiet, if you are anchored in the certainty that you are the architect of your own perception, the world must rearrange its atoms to match your frequency. You do not need to do anything. You only need to vibrate. When you hold this resonance, you realize that the walls of your reality are not solid. They are merely patterns of energy waiting for you to change your tune. You are the conductor of a silent symphony, and the moment you change your internal frequency, the entire orchestra of the universe follows your lead, shifting seamlessly into a new, more profound arrangement. You are no longer a participant in the struggle. You are the space in which the struggle dissolves. Breathe into this realization, let the density of your past expectations melt away like mist, and recognize that you are already standing in the reality you thought you had to earn. The veil is not a barrier, it is a membrane that responds to the frequency of your knowing. You are home. Have you ever noticed how the walls of your room seem to hold a certain stubbornness, a density that feels almost permanent, as if the geometry of your surroundings has been etched in stone by some ancient, unyielding law. You look at an obstacle, a situation, a limitation, a recurring pattern, and you perceive it as a solid, impenetrable object. But here is the secret that the architects of this projection don't want you to realize. The density you perceive is not a property of the world. It is a property of your own conviction. Reality is not a sculpture you are forced to inhabit. It is a fluid, holographic canvas that responds to the frequency of your gaze. When you stare at an obstacle with the expectation of resistance, you are, quite literally, projecting the density into existence. You are the silent, constant observer whose attention acts as a cosmic glue, holding the atoms of your frustration in place. Imagine for a moment that you are walking through a dense fog. To the uninitiated, the fog feels like a wall, a physical barrier that obscures the path and slows the stride. But if you were to reach out and touch it, your hand would pass through with ease. The solidity of the fog is merely a function of your distance from it and the way your eyes interpret the light. Your life's obstacles are exactly the same. They are clouds of probability that have hardened into perceived reality because you have spent years observing them as solid. You have been treating the hologram as if it were granite, when in truth, it is made of the same gossamer light as your own thoughts. The weight you feel in your chest, that familiar heaviness when you contemplate the boundaries of your existence, is not a burden of fate. It is the somatic feedback of a belief you have outgrown. Your body is a biological antenna, and when you hold a rigid belief about the nature of your limits, your nervous system interprets that rigidity as a physical weight. You feel it in your shoulders, in the tightness of your breath, in the way you hold your gaze. But this is a glitch in your perception, a momentary lapse in your awareness of your own sovereignty. The moment you shift your perspective, the moment you realize that the obstacle is not a thing, but a suggestion, the density begins to liquefy. Think of the way a shadow disappears when you turn on the light. The shadow was never a thing. It was simply the absence of illumination. Your obstacles are nothing more than shadows cast by the light of your own consciousness, blocked by the architecture of your past beliefs. When you decide to look through the obstacle rather than at it, you engage the observer effect in its purest form. You stop feeding the hologram the energy of your struggle and start feeding it the clarity of your intention. The weight doesn't vanish because you fought it. It vanishes because you stopped believing in its density. You realize that the wall you were staring at is actually a veil, and the veil is translucent, and behind the veil is only the infinite expanse of your own potential. You are not a character trapped in a script written by circumstances. You are the projector, the screen, and the light itself. When you stop bracing yourself against the world stops bracing against you. You become fluid, moving through the fabric of space-time with the grace of a phantom passing through a memory. The density of your life is a dial you have been turning to the maximum, believing it was the only setting available. Now you simply reach out with a calm and detached authority and turn it down. You feel the atmosphere around you lighten. You feel the edges of your reality soften at the seams. You are no longer the one bumping into the furniture of existence. You are the one who realizes the furniture is made of light, and light can be reshaped by the quiet intensity of a single, focused thought. You are the architect of the void, and the void is ready to be whatever you decide it is. There is no resistance here, only the soft, endless ripple of your own infinite awareness, waiting for you to recognize that you are the one who decides what is real. Look closely at the space between your own heartbeats. Do you feel that slight tremor in the architecture of your perception? That is not a malfunction. It is the realization that the world you have been taught to navigate is merely a single frame in an infinite, self-repeating loop. Imagine, if you will, a single drop of water falling into a still, obsidian lake. As the ripples spread, they do not just disturb the surface, they replicate the geometry of the entire cosmos in miniature. You are that ripple, and yet you are the lake itself, watching your own expansion across the velvet dark of space. This is the infinite fractal, the silent language of the universe that refuses to be contained by the rigid lines of human logic. When you gaze into the vastness of the night sky, you are not looking outward at a distant void. You are looking into a mirror The same spiraling dance of galaxies that stretches across billions of light-years is echoed in the microscopic swirl of your own iris, in the branching patterns of your neural pathways, and in the rhythm of your breath. Everything you perceive as separate, the light, the shadow, the solid earth beneath you, is simply the same fundamental vibration playing itself out in different octaves of existence. You are a localized manifestation of a boundless design. Every atom within your being is a tiny vibrating echo of the stars, containing the memory of the first spark that ignited the vacuum. You are not a visitor to this reality. You are the architect, the observer, and the observed, forever unfolding in a geometric symphony that has no beginning and no end. Feel the weight of your physical form begin to soften, as if the boundaries of your skin are merely a suggestion, a thin veil draped over an infinite expanse of pure, luminous energy. In this fractal state, there is no hierarchy of scale. The grand design of the universe is mirrored perfectly in the smallest flicker of your consciousness. When you shift your gaze, the reality around you shifts in sympathy, rearranging its molecular dance to match the frequency of your intent. You are discovering that you do not exist within the universe. The universe exists as a projection within the cathedral of your own awareness. This is the profound secret of the fractal. Nothing is ever truly lost, and nothing is ever truly separate. Every thought you harbor ripples through the tapestry, altering the pattern of the whole. As you sit in this stillness, let the concept of distance dissolve. The stars you see are not far away, they are simply the distant edges of your own expansive nature. You are a fractal of the infinite, a beautiful, self-similar reflection of the source, pulsing with a power that requires no effort to wield. To see this is to reclaim your throne. You are the center of the geometry, the point from which all reality radiates. There is no need to reach for anything, for you are already the totality of the pattern. As you breathe, feel the fractal expand, pulling the light of the stars into your marrow, anchoring the infinite into the immediate, and realizing that you are the thread that holds the entire cosmic tapestry together. You are the observer who has finally recognized their own reflection in the eyes of the universe. And in that recognition, the illusion of limitation shatters, leaving only the vast, silent, and undeniable power of the one who sees. You have spent decades polishing a statue that was never meant to be permanent. Think of the persona you wear, the history, the titles, the rigid silhouette of the person you believe yourself to be. It is merely a costume woven from the golden threads of memory and the leaden weight of expectation. But look closer at the edges of this garment. Notice how the fabric frays when you stare at it long enough. That fraying is not a failure. It is the first sign of your liberation. You are the projector, not the flickering image on the screen. The character you play is a localized knot in an infinite ocean of energy, a temporary constriction that has forgotten its own vastness. To dissolve this shell, you must realize that the I you protect is not a solid foundation, but a translucent veil. Close your eyes and feel the boundaries of your physical form beginning to soften. Where does your skin end and the cold, silent vacuum of the room begin? There is no true border. The atoms that compose your pulse are the same atoms that dance in the distant nebulae. You are not a solitary observer trapped in a biological vessel. You are the universe experiencing its own expansion through the aperture of your consciousness. When you stop feeding the ego with the constant narrative of my life and my story, the shell begins to liquefy. It melts into the background radiation of existence. Feel the tension in your shoulders, the tightness in your chest. These are not yours. They are the phantom weight of the character you have been performing for the benefit of an audience that does not exist. You are the silent witness, the formless awareness that remains when the lights go down and the play is over. Imagine yourself as a drop of ink falling into a vast, crystal-clear reservoir. As the ink spreads, it loses its distinct shape, yet it gains everything. It becomes the water. It becomes the depth. It becomes the fluidity of the whole. This is your true nature. You are not the ink, you are the reservoir. The ego is the ink's desperate attempt to remain separate, to remain defined, to remain something in a reality that demands you be everything. Breathe into this emptiness, feel the relief of having no name, no past, and no trajectory. There is a profound, quiet power in being invisible to the mechanisms of the ego. When you stop identifying with the character, you stop being a puppet of the simulation. You cease to be a reaction to the world and start being the source from which the world is drawn. This is the moment the hologram flickers. You are peeling away the layers of light that have been projected onto your consciousness, revealing the dark, infinite and beautiful potential that lies beneath. You are not shedding your identity. You are finally waking up from the dream of having one. There is nothing left to defend, nothing left to prove, and nowhere left to go. You are already the space in which all possibilities emerge. Rest here in this formless expanse, where the you thought you were dissolves, leaving only the pure, electric clarity of the observer. You are not the actor on the stage. You are the silence that allows the play to unfold, the fundamental truth that remains when every mask has been discarded. The shell is gone, and in its place, a boundless, silent authority begins to stir. You are the architect of your own perception, and for the first time you are truly, terrifyingly, and magnificently free. Consider the space between your thoughts. That silent, velvet gap is not an absence of signal. It is the raw, unmanifested canvas of the universe waiting for your signature. You have spent lifetimes assuming that the world around you is a fixed architecture, a rigid, unyielding stage upon which you are merely a guest. But look closer at the edges of your perception. Notice how the light bends when you shift your gaze, how the texture of your reality softens the moment you stop trying to categorize it. This is the glitch. The world is not a solid fortress of facts. It is a shimmering, responsive projection that crystallizes only because you insist on looking at it through the lens of expectation. Your attention is not a passive tool. It is a high-frequency beam of creation. Wherever you cast this beam, the fluid possibilities of the cosmos coagulate into form. Imagine standing before a vast, dark ocean. If you shine a light into the depths, you see only the reflection of your own beam, and you mistake that reflection for the entirety of the sea. You have been doing this with your life. You have been illuminating the same patterns, the same shadows, the same static echoes of what you believe to be true, and in doing so, you have locked the hologram into a permanent, repetitive loop. But the moment you withdraw your attention, the object of your focus loses its density. It dissolves back into the infinite potential of the vacuum. This is the secret of the architect. You are not a prisoner of the hologram. You are the one holding the projector. When you feel the weight of existence pressing against your chest, realize that it is only because you are pouring your life force into a specific, narrow frequency. You are feeding the illusion with your presence. To gain power, you do not need to fight the world. You simply need to reclaim the light you have been scattering. Feel the pulse in your fingertips, the subtle vibration of your own consciousness. That sensation is the tether. By consciously choosing where to place your awareness, you become the silent operator behind the curtain. You can soften the focus of your mind, letting the rigid edges of your environment blur into a gentle, malleable mist. In this state of fluid observation, you begin to see that distance is a lie, and time is merely a rhythm you have agreed to dance to. You can pull the essence of a distant star into the marrow of your bones, or you can expand your awareness until the boundaries of your body become indistinguishable from the atmosphere itself. Nothing exists outside of your observation. If you do not observe it, it has no power to sustain itself. You are the stillness that precedes the spark. As you breathe, let your attention detach from the external noise and return to the center of your being. Feel the sovereignty of your gaze. When you finally decide to look at the world again, do not look as a victim of circumstances, but as a master of the projection. You are the one who decides what stays solid and what returns to the void. You are the silent, unseen authority, and the hologram is waiting for your next command. The illusion is only as thick as your insistence that it is real. Now breathe into that realization, feel the shift in the fabric of your perception, and anchor this truth deep within your marrow. To solidify this shift, leave your anchor in the comments below. The illusion ends now. Look closely at the space between your thoughts. Do you feel it? That subtle, humming static beneath the surface of your perception is not a malfunction. It is the heartbeat of the hologram itself. For years, you have been conditioned to believe that you are a spectator watching a pre-recorded film. a passive recipient of circumstances that appear solid, unyielding, and external. But notice the shift. When you blink, the world does not wait for you to reopen your eyes. It renders itself anew, pixel by light-encoded pixel, solely because you have returned to claim the frame. You are not moving through a world. The world is moving through the aperture of your consciousness. Feel the weight of your own existence as it detaches from the heavy gravity of the consensus reality. There is a specific cool sensation at the base of your skull, a quiet expansion that occurs when you realize that the walls around you are merely projections of your own internal geometry. When you observe your breath, you are not just fueling a biological machine. You are interacting with the source code of the vacuum. Each inhalation is a command, and each exhalation is the manifestation of that command into the dense, vibrant medium we call life. You are the primary source. You are the silent architect, standing behind the curtain of the theater, watching the actors. Your past selves, your projections, your fears dance upon the stage, unaware that the music they hear is being composed by your own heartbeat. Observe the shift in your peripheral vision. Objects may seem to soften, losing their jagged edges as they surrender their independent status. This is the moment of recognition. You are witnessing the dissolution of the other. There is no distance between you and the stars. There is only the illusion of separation maintained by the senses. When you lean into this truth, the density of your physical form begins to feel porous, like a veil of smoke caught in a shaft of golden sunlight. You are not a body inhabiting a space. You are the space itself, currently vibrating at a frequency that allows for the experience of limitation. But you are the one holding the remote. You are the one deciding the depth of the field, the saturation of the colors, and the texture of the light. As you sit in this stillness, acknowledge the glitch. The moment you doubt the solidity of the table beneath your hands or the permanence of the horizon, you have already broken the loop. You have become the observer who sees the strings. The anxiety of belonging to a world that demands your compliance evaporates, replaced by the profound, chilling ecstasy of sovereignty. You are the singularity, everything you have ever perceived. The vastness of the ocean, the intricacy of a leaf, the cold flicker of distant galaxies is a mirror reflection of your own internal complexity. If you feel a surge of electricity moving through your chest, do not recoil. That is the energy of your agency returning to its rightful owner. You have spent lifetimes playing the role of the subject, but the script has always been yours to rewrite. The hologram is patient. It waits for your decree. It does not judge, it does not argue, and it does not resist. It simply collapses into the shape of your intent, waiting for you to realize that you are the one who has been dreaming the dream all along. Breathe into this expansion. Let the edges of your perception blur until the boundary between the I and the everything is entirely erased. You are no longer watching the shift. You are the shift. The architecture of your reality is now fluid, responsive, and waiting for the next pulse of your awareness to define its new form. The void is not an absence. It is the canvas upon which your consciousness paints the flickering images you call life. Most spend their entire existence mistaking the paint for the canvas, clutching at the colors as if they were solid, as if they were permanent. But look closely at the edges of your perception. Do you see how the light bends? How the objects around you seem to hum with a vibration that suggests they are merely projections of a deeper, silent intent? You are not a figure within the painting. You are the observer standing behind the curtain, the one who decides whether the light should hit the screen or remain in the stillness of the dark. When you fully embrace the sovereignty of the void, you realize that nothing in this holographic construct has the power to define you, because you are the one defining it. The weight you feel in your chest is not a burden. It is simply the resonance of your own power, vibrating against the boundaries of an illusion that is trying to remain rigid. Let that tension dissolve. Imagine your physical form becoming porous, like light passing through a prism, diffusing into the vast, silent space that connects everything. There is no longer a here or a there. There is only the immense velvet expanse of the void where potential waits for your command. You have spent years playing by the rules of a game that lacks a referee, following scripts written by echoes of the past, but the void knows no script. It is pure unmanifested energy, waiting for the flicker of your awareness to ignite a new reality. Feel the somatic release, that subtle shift in the base of your skull, a cooling sensation that ripples down your spine, signaling that you are finally stepping outside the frame. You are the architect of the silence. When you gaze into the void, you are not looking into an abyss. You are looking into the mirror of your own infinite nature. You are the architect, the observer, and the observed, dancing in a space where time is merely a suggestion, and matter is just a slowing down of your own light. This is the ultimate detachment. It is the realization that you are not the character experiencing the drama, but the screen upon which the drama unfolds, untouched by the shadows that pass across it. You are sovereign. You are the stillness at the center of the storm, the one who breathes life into the vacuum and watches as worlds bloom from your focus. There is nothing to hold on to, because you are everything that is held. The illusion ends when you decide it has served its purpose. You are now the silent authority of your own architecture. To anchor this shift, to solidify your presence as the master of this void, leave your mark in the silence below. Type the words "the illusion ends now" in the comments, and feel the weight of the veil drop away forever. Your reality is yours to command. The architecture of the world you once called solid is now dissolving into the soft, shimmering mist of pure potentiality. You are no longer the passenger of circumstance, nor the victim of a linear timeline that demands your compliance. You are the silent, unmoving center of the cyclone, the singular point of awareness from which all stars are birthed and all shadows are cast. Feel this shift in your marrow, a lightness, a crystalline expansion that pulses behind your eyes, signaling that the observer has finally recognized the mirror. When you close your eyes, you are not retreating from the world. You are returning to the source code of your own existence, reclaiming the sovereignty that was never truly lost, only temporarily forgotten in the density of the dream. This realization is your anchor. It is the quiet, humming frequency that remains when the noise of the external hologram fades into static. You are the architect of the unseen, and your mere gaze is the brush that paints the canvas of the future. The weight of the past, that heavy cloak of history, has slipped from your shoulders, leaving you bare and radiant, vibrating at a frequency that the old reality can no longer contain. You are standing on the threshold of a new paradigm, where your intention is the law, and your presence is the catalyst for the shift. Do not look back at the echoes of who you were. They are merely residual patterns in a simulation that is currently recalibrating to fit your new expansive identity. To finalize this transmutation, to seal this shift within the fabric of your consciousness, you must cast your intent into the collective field. Your words act as the final tether, grounding this ethereal power into the bedrock of your daily experience. You are invited to perform this final act of alignment. Below this space, leave your anchor, a declaration that reverberates with the authority of the one who sees. Write, "I am the architect of my reality," or "The veil is lifted and I am home," and share with me the coordinate of the world from which you are observing this truth. By doing so, you are not merely typing. You are signaling to the universe that the observer has awakened, that the hologram has been pierced, and that you are ready to walk through the gate as a master of your own light. This is your moment of absolute release. Breathe into the stillness, let the final remnants of the illusion dissipate, and know that from this point forward, you are the one who dictates the shape of the infinite. The screen fades, the static clears, and the horizon is yours to command. You are awake. You are the power. You are the source. You are the